So today I want to react to a video that can only be described as very disturbing and very heartbreaking. And this is coming out of Philadelphia. And this video is of a Jamaican restaurant in Philadelphia being robbed and caught live on camera. And this, as someone that owned a restaurant and understand what it is like to own a Caribbean restaurant, this was very hard to watch and was very disturbing. And this is brought to you by CBS News. So let's take a look.
A mother terrorized in front of her children. She's robbed at gunpoint by a masked man, and now she is talking about this frightening ordeal.
It keeps playing in my head. My children, please don't hurt my mommy. Please don't hurt my mommy. That breaks my heart.
Well, police are certainly hoping someone recognizes the gunman that you're about to see in this video so they can bring justice to that mom. Good afternoon to you, everyone. I'm Natasha Brown.
And I'm Siafa Lewis. Police say the owner was closing the restaurant with her children present when the man entered the store, pointed a gun at her, and demanded money from the register. Josh Sanders is at police headquarters after speaking with the owner. Good afternoon, Josh.
Hey, good afternoon, Siafa and Natasha. Yeah, the video is hard to watch. It's horrific, but Shoshana Williams tells me her faith has kept her grounded ever since this happened. She hopes justice will be served.
Every time it just plays back in my head, like my kids was just screaming, please don't hurt my mommy, please don't hurt my mommy. So it's tough on the kids.
Shoshana Williams has held her three youngest children a little closer after the four of them came face to face with a gunman late Saturday night.
My son is 10, my daughter she just turned 11, and my baby's 3. And he did that right in front of my kids.
Williams has co-owned her restaurant and banquet hall with her oldest daughter for 7 years, serving a mix of Jamaican and American cuisine. Saturday night, she was closing down the restaurant around 9 p.m. when the masked gunman came in and demanded money.
Had a gun in front of me pointing at me. I said, just take whatever you want. Just don't hurt me or hurt my kids.
I couldn't imagine, not only as a law enforcement officer, but more so as a parent of 3 young children, what was going through this poor woman's mind.
Police released the video in hopes that someone recognizes the gunman.
The video has some pretty good shots of some distinct clothing, in particular the individual's pants with the white stripe on them.
I'll do the pepper steak.
As Williams opened her restaurant today, Raymond Push was there to show her support after seeing the video with a message for Williams.
Don't be afraid. Don't give up. The community, the city. I don't live in this neighborhood, but the city is behind her. I hope that's what, this transaction will, convey.
Williams says her faith has kept her grounded as she seeks justice for her family.
You can do all things through God who strengthens you. So I'm a firm believer in God, and I just want justice to be served.
And it was such a special moment between Shoshana and that customer, showing so much support for her and her business right now. Shoshana tells me she's adding extra security since this happened, and she hopes that the police will find the person responsible. Guys, back to you.
Okay, so as I said, this clipping was from CBS News Philadelphia, and this was very hard to watch and very personal because as someone myself that owned a Caribbean restaurant, I know how difficult it is to own and operate a Caribbean restaurant. Carib 21 started out as a Caribbean/Jamaican restaurant 2016, and for anyone who knows about Caribbean restaurants is one of the most difficult restaurants to operate, especially in North America. Caribbean restaurant can be very expensive to operate and with low profit margins, some of the lowest profit margins from any restaurant operation in North America. And that is just the reality of it. And to see like a mother, operating a restaurant, and one of the things that stood out to me also is that her kids were there, like her 3 kids were in the middle of this robbery. And that is very commonplace. When I operated my restaurant, it was very common for me to just pick up my kids from school and they would come at the restaurant and they would hang out like every day after school until their mom was coming from work and pick them up. So I understand this type of process. I understand sometimes there are a lot of like single mothers or there are a lot of single fathers that operate restaurant and they would have to have their kids in the restaurant with them. So just to see this caught live on video, with just imagine the trauma that these kids are going through, especially a 10-year-old boy, to watch someone just break in and point an illegal weapon at his mom, and what would be going through his mind at the time that he could have lost his mom right in front of his eyes. And for like a young man, especially a young man, to watch that and what that does to his mind. Because I've been robbed before, I've been held up at gunpoint before, and as a man, a grown man going through those type of emotion, it's not an easy thing to go through. Like, it can be very traumatic for anyone being robbed and a gun pointed right at your head. And so just imagine what, the kids are going through. Just imagine what the mom is going through. And this is the real impact of crime and violence within our community. And this is something that, this happened in Philadelphia, but this is something that we see take place with the rise of crime and violence around the Caribbean. This is things that we see taking place more often than not, like young men with illegal firearms coming and robbing people. That is very commonplace now, as we see in the Caribbean. And whenever you talk about this type of behavior and you're trying to find a solution, what is really the cause of crime and violence? And whenever we talk about the cause of crime and violence, people always go to lack of opportunity as one of the first thing. And I tend to disagree with that, because look, one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight this is in Philadelphia. This is in the United States of America. And when you look at people from the Caribbean, the hoops that they will jump through to get to America, because America, for most people, is the promised land. America is the land of milk and honey, where people want to go to make life. And so when you go to different states in America and you can see the crime rate, like some states in America, like if they were a country by themselves, would be like the most dangerous country in the world. Philadelphia tend to be one of those states. And so I tend to believe that, look, I know that lack of opportunities can contribute to it, but when you have like people walking across the border of Mexico, people filing refugee status in America, and a lot of these people go to America with zero, with nothing, and they try to make something out of their life. You can't tell me that, look, a lot of these young men that are involved in these robberies and crimes in America, that they can't find job, even if it's a minimum wage job. I know minimum wage job is not something that pay a lot of money, and it's not something that you can build a life on. But I believe it is better than, inflicting these kind of traumatic experience on your own people. Because I'd want to believe that this person that robbed this Caribbean restaurant would be someone from the Caribbean community, because I don't see people coming from outside of the community and doing this type of stuff. So it is just this is a conversation that we're going to continue to have, especially in the Caribbean space, as we see like Caribbean islands grappling with crime and violence. And the thing about this type of conversation is that we're going to have to sit down and have difficult, hard conversation, because even when I was talking about the conversation, the protests against crime and violence, increase of crime and violence in Barbados, and I made a point that, look, I believe that one of the biggest problem in the Caribbean right now is single-parent home. It's not the only problem. There's a problem of illegal firearms making its way into the Caribbean, but single-parent home has to be one of the main priority. How do we fix this? And I find whenever we try to have these type of conversation, there are people out there that push back and people take it personal. And the thing is, when we talk about these type of stuff, this is not personal, because single-parent home is not just on single mothers. Single-parent home is a responsibility for both men and women, because it takes two to bring a child into the world. So we have to sit down and we have to have these conversations, because every number out there, we're talking about, I know in the Caribbean we don't do as much research as in America or in Canada, but every single number out there shows that if you are a product of a single parent home as a young black male, the chances of you going to jail is very high. It's about 70% higher than kids that grew up in two-parent home. And every time we have this conversation, as I said, sometimes people take it personal, and people would think that whenever we talk about single-parent home, that this is an attack on single mothers. This is not an attack on single mothers because, as I said, the men that help to bring these kids into the world bear as much responsibility because it takes two. And I believe that, you know, in the conversation that we have had, whenever we're talking about crime fighting, that means we're too late. Whenever we're talking about crime fighting in the Caribbean, we're talking about spending billions of dollars on getting new police cars, harming the police officers with technology, and increasing the police force. Whenever we start having that conversation, that means we have lost already. The conversation should be proactive. How do we ensure that young men in the Caribbean, they are not drawn to crime and violence? Because trust me, like I grew up in Jamaica. I grew up in a rough, poorer Jamaica than Jamaica is in 2025. I've been to different places in the Caribbean. I personally believe that the Caribbean in 2025 is better in terms of finding a job and finding something to do. A lot of young men refuse to go into farming. A lot of young men refuse to go into hospitality. The Caribbean is not the poorest region in the world. There are other places that's poorer than the Caribbean, and they're not dealing with the same level of crime and violence. So I think it's a conversation that we're going to have to continue as a region in terms of crime and violence and how it impacts our community. Because as you see, not only in the Caribbean, but also in the diaspora. It also follows us in the diaspora. Where I operated my restaurant in Canada was called Little Jamaica. And Little Jamaica was seen as like one of these areas where crime and violence could have happened anytime. Little Jamaica was seen as a place that like a lot of people would be on drugs and stuff like that. So it follows us even when we are outside of the Caribbean. So guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this video that we saw with this mother like operating her restaurant and held at gunpoint. Sound off in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on this and just about crime and violence and the impact on the Caribbean community, whether it's in the Caribbean or in the diaspora. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.